Got to click. Got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Another window to click.
Another thing to do. Yep. Loving Zoom.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Thorns. Real I love your background, by the way, Douglas.
Oh, thanks.
So all right, so I'm just gonna get right to the questions. Douglas, you continue to work with some of the most prolific and iconic actors in the genre. It wasn't a surprise to me to see Doug Bradley's name on this film. But after seeing the film and how Hellraiser inspired it is, was there a need to have Doug in
Oh, wow, a need to have.
it?
That's a great question. There was a desire, certainly, to work with Doug. When the story was being crafted, no, you never know how casting is going to play out. And but I did call upon Doug's manager when it came time to begin casting, and he brought the potential up, saying, "Would you like me to approach Doug?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So that's how that all started and came to be. And I think it's a wonderful, it's a big part of our movie, obviously. So.
Doug, you've gone from playing an iconic hell priest to an archbishop here. Not that you haven't played holy characters before, but what was it like getting into the role
Promotion
for
or a
Thorns?
demotion, do you think?
Was that?
Is this a promotion or a demotion, do you think?
Well, if you ask me, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on Pinhead, so it's I'm probably more on that side, but
And via a couple of priests as well. So
knowing that the movie has sort of Hellraiser homage qualities, what was it like getting into the character here in Thorns?
well, to be honest, other people have pointed out the Hellraiser homage qualities. I'll leave that up to my namesake to discuss as to whether that was specifically in his mind or not. It wasn't in mine approaching the script, nor was it particularly reading it. I mean, some of the Archbishop's philosophical musings on the nature of evil and the rather condescending and dismissive view of humanity that he takes had echoes in my head of a certain other character, certainly. But it's not a thing that's actively in your head. You approach, each script on its own merits, each character on his own terms.
The makeup and prosthetics for the creature, the entity in Thorns, that's another thing that I think looks very Hellraiser inspired. Was there ever a time, Doug, that you wished that you were back in that chair, getting the makeup and prosthetics on for a role like this?
It's not anything that I've turned my back on. I've never said I was done playing the role. Those are decisions for other people to take. I would do it again. I will say this, that I think to some extent prosthetic makeup is a young man's game. I think for someone like Robert Englund, it's less of an issue because he has a small head, so he carries prosthetic makeup very well, and he has very tight flesh. I don't. And time and gravity has done to me what time and gravity will do, whether you like it or not. I can carry the makeup again, and I would in the right circumstances, right, or an entirely different role if someone came. I wouldn't make the wearing of prosthetic makeup a disbarment to playing a role. Let me put it that way.
I love that answer. I hope we get to see you in something like that again for sure.
I don't want to put ideas into Doug's head, but at the same time, there is something very nice about sitting down in the makeup chair and 5 to 10 minutes later having the makeup artist say, "That's it, you're done."
That's not, yeah, that's gonna be a load off in this role for sure. Douglas, of all the creature effects in the practical, the gory, everything, was there ever any challenges you faced with Thorns getting this to look the way that you wanted?
Well, yeah, certainly the challenge was the clock. With any type of filmmaking, you're racing the clock to get your shot list and make certain you can execute everything to your liking. And we made certain to allot enough time and in each day where we had an effect gag. And so we were very careful and cautious about that because it's a centerpiece of the movie. But in particular, what was very challenging was the actor, for the actor who played the monster. The makeup was so all encompassing that there was a claustrophobic feeling. The actor couldn't see when Bo Shumaker plays wonderfully the monster, and we had to lead him onto and off of set, and he likened the experience to being underwater, and he's an avid scuba diver, and he said if he didn't have that experience, there was no way he could have lasted for the hours it required in the makeup, because once you're in it, there was such a sense for him of being just trapped, that it was extremely arduous. So
This would be like him scuba diving blindfold, right?
yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it was true for Nick and Simon playing Butterball and Chatterer in Hellraiser. They also were pretty much blind. Had to be led and told which way to look. So no idea where the camera was.
Yeah,
right. I had the longer makeup process, but I always thought I got off easier than they did.
Yeah, kind of hard to do the lines and try to figure out where you're standing on set too, I'm sure.
yeah.
Bo does a great job. I mean, I doff my cap to him. Certainly, I was impressed to hell, and also, is it John? Have I got that right, Doug? The lead.
Yes, yeah, Jon Bennett.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. And Cassandra, he said, also hoping he's remembering correctly. They do a great job. Again, Cassandra, with the constraints of kind of guiding the story in many ways without being able to speak. She does a superb job, but and Bo carries the makeup tremendously well. As I've said, he's officially part of the union.
Speaking of Jon and Cassandra, one of the scenes in the film, a creepy crawly is extracted from Sister Agnes. It's maybe the most apprehensive I've been during a scene recently in any horror film. So first of all, I want to. I'm sorry.
I said, there you go. Wear that one, Doug.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
First, I want to know how did this scene come about, and what is it that makes both of your skins crawl?
Yeah, body horror and the idea of little, almost tiny parasitic entities that crawl and wiggle and can get through an orifice. I think everyone is frightened by that, and so we do have a few eye gags in our film. We open with one, and then there's the scene, of course, with Cassandra and trying to extract without giving away too much in the story. but very, very well, thought out and intended, and complex effects gags, for sure. What makes my skin crawl? There's the physical, but then of course there's often quite a lot of psychological, right? With horror, sometimes it's not what you see, it's sometimes what you don't see, in some of the great horror films, that allows your mind and your own creative imagination. I'll never forget, it's not a horror film, but seeing Brian De Palma's Scarface, and there's a particular scene with a chainsaw in a hotel room, and the way De Palma depicts the sequence, he chooses to keep the camera on Al Pacino's face, and you just hear everything else. And to me, it was just, that's hard to, letting your imagination go is quite often skin crawling, right? So,
I was just thinking Tarantino does the same trick, doesn't he, with the ear cutting off, where he just slowly slides the camera away.
Yep.
You hear it all, and then he slowly slides the camera. Skin crawling for me, needles. Why is it an unwritten rule in cinema that every time someone gets an injection of any kind, there has to be a close-up of the needle going into the skin? And that has me doing that. And then I always time it, because the other thing that apparently directors are ordered to do is to cut away and then cut back again. So I'll come out and think I'm safe now, and then they cut back, and I'm not. And wasps.
Ooh. Don't
do well with wasps. They're evil. Peter Straub, in his novel Ghost Story, he embodied pure evil in the form of a wasp, and I was cheering when I read it. They really are. They ruin a good summer's day. They fly like sharks, swim, that thing, and of course they're basically hypodermics with wings. Just a couple of days ago, we had a rabbit squished in our street, and I went over to take a look at it, and it was not in a good way, and it was kind of ripped over on the top part of its rib cage, exposed, and obviously there were flies all over it. There were wasps, and the sight of a wasp crawling inside the still freshly red and bloodied carcass of a rabbit made my skin crawl.
You're making my skin crawl now. All right, got two more for you guys. So Thorns blends science and religion by making hell a distant planet. With the way the film goes, do either of you believe that there are lessons to be gleaned about the extremities of either?
When you say the extremities of either, or are you saying extremities of evil?
No, either. Like, so both
choices
science
being
and religion.
Yeah. And hell is a distant planet. Wow. Well, certainly it was an element that attracted me, was the mixing of science and religion, and I think that's interesting. You hear it a lot now, pejoratively. Climate change deniers like to talk about climate change science as being a religion, and they mean it dismissively. I just went to see Oppenheimer, which I guess is also an essay on, the idea of scientists, quote unquote, playing God, and the extremes to which science will go if it's allowed to. Of course, the counter argument with Oppenheimer is that the scientists are not doing anything wrong. The scientists are exploring the science. It's the politicians who make the decisions about what will be done with that. And there are moral niceties within Oppenheimer, because the original impetus for America creating the bomb was to do it before the Nazis did, because they were pretty certain that if Hitler got the bomb, he would use it. And that's presented again, one of the reasons why America was so successful in bringing scientists, and specifically Jewish scientists from Europe to America to work on the project, was specifically that issue of getting the bomb before Hitler. Then by the time it comes around to using the bomb, Hitler's already defeated and didn't succeed in getting the bomb. And then there's the further moral shuffle that while Oppenheimer is okay with the bomb being used to end the war, he does not want the extension of the bomb. He's opposed to the development of the H bomb as opposed to the A bomb, that the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where he's opposed to the development of the H bomb and the super bombs that followed it. But by that time, it's out of the hands of the scientists and into the hands of the politicians. And we all know the extremes to which religion will go, and the horrors that are and have been committed in the name of religion. It's interesting. I was talking yesterday to someone, remembering a series that was on BBC television by a wonderful scientist called Jacob Bronowski, and the series was called The Ascent of Man. I'm sure it's on YouTube or Amazon somewhere. I hugely recommend it. A lot of the science will be kind of out of date now to some extent. But he had an episode called Doubt and Certainty, which was based around the ideas of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and so forth. But Bronowski himself was Jewish, and he went, at the end of the episode, he went to Auschwitz and presented Auschwitz as being the ultimate example of what happens when doubt is cast aside and people insist on being in a place of certainty. And he walks into a muddy puddle. But he lost family in Auschwitz as well as colleagues, and he picks up a handful of mud out of this puddle and squeezes it, and this is where we get to. And he quoted Oliver Cromwell from his trial: "I beseech you, gentlemen, in the bowels of Christ, think it possible you may be wrong." Sorry, it's become a very long-winded answer.
It's all right. It's
But I think it touches on that again, wherever either religion or science. And to defend science, I don't think science does this, because science is not built on certainty. It's always based on experimental results. And all science does at any given moment is say, to the best of our knowledge and understanding, based on the evidence before us, this is what we think is going on. And that will be the accepted model until a new piece of evidence comes along. Religion operates, for me, far too much in a place of certainty. And you can bring evidence to them. I have a family member, not an immediate family member, in wider family, who is a young Earth creationist. So the world and everything that is in it or ever has been in it, nothing is older than 6,000 years. And all the scientists who use, carbon dating and so forth to prove otherwise are simply wrong, because there is a book and that's it.
Yeah.
And you can't talk to them, you can't argue with them, because it's just that. It is so, it's in the Bible, it's so, therefore it's so. And nothing else can be discussed or talked about. That's a terribly dangerous place for human beings to let their heads be in, I think.
I concur.
Okay. Sorry.
Douglas, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I think the as usual, Doug's answered, wonderfully. I would maybe just add the at its core, our protagonist in the story is battling this idea of predetermination, in trying to battle it with free will. And that's sort of where the spiritual battle, or the religious battle, sort of exists. And we do a little sleight of hand, if you will, with science in this, to make the audience think that perhaps our problems are much further out there than they really are. And then, of course, towards the end of the film, we have this reveal, and so forth. But yeah, so hopefully everybody enjoys the twist.
All right, and my final question is for you, Douglas. I loved your Beavis films. I'm a big fan. With
Cool.
so many classic movies hitting the public domain now, are you looking to complete a trilogy? Will there be more Beavis films in the future?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for enjoying those. That's where sort of the original idea started, with us, with this idea of there is so much great cinema that's come before, and the idea, the ability to homage, was certainly presented with the Romero's, right, public domain, Night of the Living Dead, and all that. I would like to at some point kind of close that out. The sad truth is, there's only so much time in a day to do an independent film and do it well. And there are only so many movies left to make, so you've got to begin to prioritize where you put your energies and so forth. But given the time and the resource, I would love to revisit that series for sure. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. As I was telling Doug Bradley, Thorns we see as a bigger story. It doesn't really, it has a very dark ending and it's very purposeful, but it's not the end of the story. So we'll, if there's enough interest, we may return again. So we'll see what happens there. So
That's awesome to hear. I think you guys are going to kill it at FrightFest. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Thank you. I understand you are on your way to Iron Mountain Observatory to find out why and went silent after receiving a signal from a missing probe. This celestial mystery must be evaluated from every perspective.
Now I lay me down to sleep.
There appear to be pages from a Bible covering the walls.
Pray the Lord my soul to keep.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
If I should die before I wake,
Get out of my head! Did you hear that?
pray the Lord my soul to keep.
Revelations talks about the end of times. Do you think that's what's happening now?
Amen.
It's starting.
What is it you want?
To fulfill prophecy.
What prophecy? The signal coming through the headphones. Everybody is in danger.
Join us.
Do you hear it, Gabriel? All roads have led to this moment. Let the signal transmit.